It is Lighthouse Jock number 13. And I'm telling you right now, I have got all of the latest and greatest breaking news on everything related to the Kendrick and Drake beef that, look, you're going to be able to listen to this podcast and just not have to listen to anything else, not have to consume any other content about Kendrick versus Drake, because you're going to know it all straight up after this. Just kidding. I don't give a fuck about any of that. And neither should you, honestly. It's one of the most low vibration things that I think I've heard of in a very long time. And look, I lived through Greta Thunberg. Okay, I lived through that little 14-year-old girl going, shame on you, everybody. Shame on you, even though it's clearly her choice. Probably not a paid actor or anything. Definitely not. I lived through that. And I think that this Kendrick versus Drake beef, like, really, it really takes the cake on just the absolute lowest vibration thing going on in the world right now. Who is the person, by the way? I gotta know. And if you're one of these people, like, please let me know why you're following this or why you give a single fuck about it at all. But I really gotta know, who is the type of person? I gotta have like a human profile on this specific type of person, the exact type of person that's like refreshing all of their social media feeds looking for the latest on like what Kendrick and Drake are saying about each other. Like, oh, Kendrick dropped this diss track and then Drake said something and had to fucking defend himself about pedo allegations, and then Kendrick dropped another track and this diss track is like the greatest thing that's... Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Who cares? Who cares about any of this garbage? Like, these are two clearly paid actors that are, you know, working together to promote themselves. Like, sure, guess what? Guess who's going to buy everything that both of these people put out now? Everybody, because this beef is just manufactured conflict. It's promotion, baby. And how people don't get that, I really, really don't understand. Like, there are actually people that are saying that, like, oh, Drake is done because of this. No, everybody's talking about him. Like, how could he possibly be done after that? And like, especially since becoming somebody that, you know, believes in God and has been heavily, like, I don't want to say drilled with the idea that, you know, worshiping false idols is bad. And it is, by the way. It is very bad, you know. And I see that lesson, or like I take that lesson away, and I look at exactly what's happening here now in this day and age of our great Lord 2024. It is, what's the date today? It's May. So if you're listening back on this in the future, for historical context, it's early May 2024. Drake and Kendrick just had the greatest social media beef with each other that everybody in the whole world is following right now, because, like, why don't you just shove their cocks in your mouth while you're at it? Like, if these are the people that you're following, like, this is why I got to know the profile of the people that, like, listen to the terrible rap of today, because it seems like those are the type of people that, like, follow their every move and follow everything that they're doing. And these rap artists become their new god, like their new idol, right? It's insane. Not only is it in a Christian sense, like, extremely blasphemous, which I get that, you know, that's not how everybody rolls, right? Even though I guess I'll stop there. But not only is it, like, blasphemous in that sense, but it's just cringe, man. It's cringe. Like, again, why don't you just, like, shove Kendrick and Drake's cock, like, right in your mouth? Should I censor cock, by the way? Probably should. Probably should. But, you know, these people, like, that idolize these rappers, right? You know, the people that, like, follow every last move that a rapper's doing, or, like, knows every little bit of subtext behind everything that's going on in one of their songs. Like, rap today is just straight up terrible. It is straight up awful. Like, can we go back to, like, 50 Cent and Biggie? And, I know Biggie and Tupac are dead, but, you know, they at least rapped about something. And there are some rappers out there that I will admit are pretty good. And here's the thing, like, it seems like the more ghetto the rap is, like, the better it is, honestly. Like, nowadays, like, you listen to fucking Drake and Kendrick, and they're just, like, they're rapping about their feelings and, like, how fucking gay they are, and, like, not really, but, you know, that's basically the gist of it. Congratulations, we've solved 2024 rap together. Everybody, it's fucking gay. And I say that as, you know, one of them.
Sexual.
Yeah, it looked 2024 rap is gayer than me. I don't even get how that's a hot take, by the way. Like, I know that that's going to be a spicy take, and it might get me in trouble with people that would want to comment. You know, the exact person that I'm talking about that has followed every ounce of this Drake and Kendrick beef, but do something better with your life. Like, what the are you doing in your life to where this is exactly what you're following all the time? Like, who cares? Who gives a about any of this? And I get that, you know, that's the contrarian take, but, you know, there's something about this, and this is just so I was about to say GD again. Look, I'm not allowed to say GD anymore, okay? He's watching. But, you know, this is just the lowest vibration bullshit that I've seen in a very, very, very long time in our culture. And I don't get it. I really got to know the profile of the person that, like, follows every modern rapper as they rap about their feelings, and they rap about, like, going to the club and, like, being a rapper. This is why, and we're going to get to this in a minute, but this is why, you know, the whole comedian thing is kind of, it's getting a little stale. It's getting a little old. And I don't want to turn this into another Haterade Unleashed episode, but, you know, it just might be. It might be one of those kinds of things. There's just too much out there in the world right now for this to be a positive episode. There's no way. But anyway, one funny thing that did come out of this, by the way, and I guess we'll stop following the Drake bullshit after this. But there's literally one funny thing that happened out of this, which came from a news anchor. I don't really know what station they're on or what market they're in. Who cares? Who cares about any of that? But he made a very unfortunate mistake here.
Lots of questions tonight about a security guard who was shot outside the mansion of the rapper, I should say, Drake.
All right. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. That one, you got me, culture. You got me. You just have to wink at me like that. Like, all right, I get it. It's terrible, but there's still some funny stuff in there. But modern rap is just straight up terrible. It doesn't even count as real music, honestly. Like, it's literally just slam poetry with a beat behind it. Like, everybody that wants to be an aspiring SoundCloud rapper, like, just go to your local bookstore, or do they have slam poetry bars anymore? I don't even know how that works, but but yeah, just go to your local, I guess a hipster coffee shop would be the place that you would have to go to do that. But yeah, I'm telling you right now, just find some generic beat and go to your local hipster coffee shop and just read some slam poetry. You know, that's literally all it is. Like, there's, I don't want to hate too hard, but it feels like there's absolutely zero musical talent behind, you know, modern, like, SoundCloud rap, which seems to be what everybody is listening to and enjoying. But I don't know. All right, I get it. You can stop hating on the popular thing because you just want to be a contrarian. I cannot be the only one that thinks that this whole thing is just stupid, right? Like, everybody is waiting with bated breath, with the most excitement in their entire lives because they live boring lives just waiting for the next, so when's the next Kendrick diss track gonna drop? Like, it's all terrible. By the way, I hate Kendrick also. I hate both of them. The sound of Kendrick's voice is just annoying. I don't care. I don't care. $8 mic. I don't remember the rest of the lyrics, but that's just how I feel. Who gives a how you feel? Why should anybody give a about how you feel? Let's be honest here. Come on. All right. I guess we'll kind of get into kind of the meat of the show here.
Housekeeping.
Got to do a little bit of that.
Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
No.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
No.
Housekeeping.
Yeah, so we are going to do some of that. So it was a little presumptuous of me, by the way, to declare that we would be going live every single Friday night after the first live show, because here's what happened, right? And I'm going to talk some more about this in just a little bit, but immediately after that first show, I started my new job. And I want to give a shout out, by the way, to all of the blue collar workers out there. I'm going to tell you straight up, you are the heroes that make the world go around. And I'm not only saying that because I'm one of you now. I would definitely have been saying this if I was still a white collar pencil pusher office idiot. I would definitely still have that opinion. Totally. But yeah, shout out to you guys. You are the people that keep the world running. Like, look, if there weren't guys in a warehouse with their electric pallet jacks just riding around getting stuff and putting it in trucks so that people driving trucks could go to places and deliver the stuff, look, the whole world, it would, I'm going to tell you right now, the whole world, it would just explode. It really would. Meanwhile, if Cheryl from HR and all of the Cheryls from HR, probably slightly heavier set, I would guess. Definitely not a judgment, but I'm just saying, based on my experience, if Cheryl from HR happened to disappear off the face of the earth, the world would probably keep on running. It would probably keep going. Just like, if your back office salespeople just managed to, all your white collar office workers just vanished right off the face of the earth. That I'm not saying that I encourage this to happen. It's just the reality of the world. If all the office people just disappeared tomorrow, I would bet the world could still run. But if all the truckers and all the people in the warehouse and all the blue collar people that are out there just, doing man's work, dude, just man's work, just hard, hands dirty, knees weak, mom spaghetti, all those people out there. Look, I know how that's not how the song goes. Don't blast me about that. Blast me about that hot take about Kendrick, that he's dumb and everybody's stupid. Yeah, that's the take that should be blasted. But look, those people are 100% essential to everything. If those people disappear tomorrow, whoosh, the whole world would explode. Nothing would get anywhere. Definitely not only saying that because I'm one of you now, but yeah, it might have been a little presumptuous to say that after starting blue collar work that I would have the energy to do the show for a while. God, as soon as I started working, I'm one of those guys now, and I'm not going to say where I work, even though I will probably get doxxed at some point eventually, especially if, let me make the Kendrick person loud enough to go, who the is that? Who the is that? We got to get his info like right now, even though I've previously put it out to the public. Look, you got to try a little bit harder than that, man. And, if you're the person that's following Kendrick religiously, I question your brain power to even be able to do this anyway. Come at me, Kendrick demon. I don't give a anyway. Anyway. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, blue collar. Anyway, it was a little presumptuous of me to think that I would have the energy after starting work, after doing physical labor, to do that. I was sore for like 2 weeks. There was literally like a 2-week period after I started that job where all my free time was spent sleeping. I would get home at 3 a.m. every night, go right to sleep, wake up at 1 p.m. the next day, and go right to work. Your body ached. Every ounce of your body just completely ached. Could not get out of bed. I threw out my back because there was one box that I lifted with my back instead of my legs, and that was enough. That was enough to just your back for like a month after that. So I don't want to say that things are going to get back into the swing of things fairly soon, because I don't know. Things in life aren't going the greatest at the moment. So it would be intellectually dishonest of me to say that, all right, look, we're going right back to regularly scheduled Friday night live show programming. Instead, well, we're going to do a couple of pre-recorded shows for a while until we go back to, or until some stuff changes in life and we can regularly do the Friday night live show again. But I figure it's been long enough, It's been long enough. All right, let's do another show, I suppose. After all, there's been some stuff going on in the world, right? And you got to talk about it. You got to talk about the current thing, the thing that everybody wants to talk about that's going on in the world. Everybody just wants to hear about that one thing. All right, and just take Drake and Kendrick, just shove them right in your mouth too. Just go ahead, go for it. That's what you want to hear about. I'm definitely not salty about that being the only news that I've heard about lately. Not at all. Having it being shoved down my throat. Oh, by the way, I think the thing that might put it to an end is so the biggest social media that I follow, really, which is kind of how I learn about what's going on in the world, even though its algorithm has become absolutely terrible now is Twitter, or X, I suppose. I've spent a very long time curating my X feed. That sounds dirty still. I don't think there's any avoiding that, but I spent a long time curating my X feed, right, for stuff that I don't like scroll through and see all the stuff that I scroll through and think, holy shit, everything is terrible. I want to kill myself. I spent a long time curating my X feed to where, I generally read good and positive stuff that not only aligns with my interests, but aligns with like a good way to read about what's going on in the world. The real juice. But I'm starting to get annoyed with Elon Musk, and I know that, I'm a little late to the party on that because he has been kind of annoying for a long time, but here's the thing that broke it, okay? So, of course, the Kendrick and Drake beef is the biggest thing out there, right? So, of course, Elon Musk is going to come in and say, like he does with a lot of things, trying to promote X, or formerly Twitter, right? Is, all right, look, this is what Elon tweeted. Not verbatim, but, kind of rough idea of what he tweeted. All right, we're going to settle this here and now, once and for all, on X. Let's have one giant boat, or both of them will be able to air their beefs with each other, and then we'll have the X voters decide who wins the beef. And it's like, come on, Elon, you're really trying to shoehorn yourself into this. There's no way that this is going to be cool anymore. And to his credit, maybe Elon is the thing that ends up shutting down this beef that I just can't avoid reading about once and for all, because, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to make this comparison, but it's kind of like how, when you have like a 13-year-old kid and they start to get into something that's like really, really cringe. And so you, as a parent, what you decide to do, right, is you go full force, you go all in on that one thing, and then the 13-year-old sees you doing it, right? And then decides, ooh, this is kind of bad. And it makes them think to themselves, like, oh, wait a minute, this thing is stupid, because, you know, you see your parent doing it. It's like when a 13-year-old like dresses really emo, and like, I know this is a comparison for my generation, but I wonder what would the Zoomer equivalent of seeing goth kids from back in the 2000s be? I don't know. Zoomers, get back to me on that. Surely there are people that dress really weird in the Zoomer generation that you guys look at and go, that's stupid. But back in my day, right, the edgy, the hipster type people, like the edgy people, they were like really kind of, I don't want to say goth or emo. Oh, emo was the big one, right? You know, the black hair, eyeliner. It was formerly goth, but it kind of morphed and evolved into emo, I guess, for a while. But that would be like, you know, if you're 13 years old and you're an emo kid, and all of a sudden your dad decided, you know what? This is a great trend. This is a great fad, son. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to dad dress, dye my hair black, dress in... I can't even describe how emo kids dress. It was all black, I guess. And then the 13-year-old sees it and goes, oh, all right, I think I'm just going to be a normal kid now. That's what Elon did. That's what Elon did here with this Kendrick Drake Twitter beef bullshit. It wasn't even Twitter beef. It's real beef, I guess. Or it's not real beef. It's just marketing. It's all marketing. You're all getting played, you idiots. But that's what happened here, and that's what Elon did. And I would like to hope that the general populace, the 2024 rap enjoyers, which I would still really like to see a scan of your brain, by the way, and what makes you tick. The people that are like cheering on every aspect of this beef. Oh yeah, the track that Kendrick just released was fire, man. He had that one bar that was like, I don't even know. I don't know. But yeah, Elon's the Daddy Elon coming out and saying, "Oh, let's settle this on Twitter Spaces. Let's settle this on Twitter, and we'll decide once and for all with a voting public poll." Okay. All right, I see how it is. That's how you want to play it. Maybe it's the best thing for us all to have Elon kill the beef by making it so uncool. Not that it's cool in the first place, but... Anyways, so I have another problem with things. While we're doing Haterade Unleashed Part 2, right? I'm so tired of the comedian podcast, okay? And I'm a notorious podcast hater, right? Of course. And I don't get me wrong. I completely realize the irony of what I'm about to say and what I'm saying while I'm sitting here doing the thing that I'm doing. Don't get me wrong. I completely understand it. I totally understand that, you know, like how could you hate on the comedian podcast when that's exactly what you're doing? Like, first of all, I'm not a comedian, just a former radio host that wants to just keep doing it, I guess, because it's fun. But in the warehouse, right, that I work at, there's one person who, ironically enough, seems like one of the people that I would get along with the most, but he's a podcast guy, right? You know, the podcast guy, the one that follows all of the major, like the man podcasts, like the Joe Rogans, the Tom Segura's, Tom Segura's okay, but I'm tired of hearing about Joe Rogan. I'm tired of hearing about oh god, what's the other one? Legion of Skanks. The woman on all these shows, by the way, is so annoying. Their voices are all so annoying. And you can tell that, like, the only reason that they're on the show even is to find a way to, like, segue the podcast into, like, so how do I get to talk about my today. Should I censor that too? I probably should. You can tell the all of the presence of those like edgy shows that get the token like female comedian to go on is all just waiting for the opportunity. So how can I shoehorn my into this bit? It's like, come on, really? And then I'm so tired of hearing all of them. Again, Tom Segura's okay, but the rest of them are terrible. And I'm so tired of hearing them like talk about them. So like I was on stage the other night, and oh, by the way, then like this thing happened on stage, and like, did I mention that I was on stage, by the way, because I'm a comic that goes on stage to say jokes. It's like, come on. Oh, by the way, they all like promote themselves as like I'm a new age man, you know, we're all part of the manosphere. And it's like, these people are the same people that get sensitive whenever somebody tries to call them a comedian instead of a comic. It's like, no, shut the up. You're a comedian. It's like, no, I'm a comic. I'm a stand-up comic. It's a common misconception that everybody thinks that we're comedians, but no, I'm a comic. I'm like, off. You're whatever I want you to be. You imbecile. No, I'm a comic. I'm not a comedian. I'm a comic. Shut up. So, I'm tired of all these. I was about to say GD again. Like, I'm sorry. He's watching. GD is off limits. Just like using Jesus' name in vain. Can't do that anymore either. But I can say all I want. He'll forgive me for that. But not the other thing. Anyway. I can't do it. I can't listen to this anymore. And, like, sure, Joe Rogan has some moments of brilliance, but I'm so tired of hearing about MMA. There's a specific tier of guy, right? He's like the level 2 guy. You know how, like, the level 1 guy is, like, the generic 9-to-5 coomer that, like, goes and watches all the Marvel movies and, like, probably has a soy beard and, like, cooms over the latest, like, thing to consume, right? The podcast guy, he's level 2. He's like one level above that. You know, the one that follows all the manosphere stuff, the one that like follows MMA, the ones that kind of follow sports a little bit, even though sports is sort of interchangeable between the level 1 guy, the level 1 normie, and the level 2 podcast guy, right? And look, I'm breaking this all down with science here so that you know what to look for in the world. Okay. But the level 2, the podcast guy, right? You know, guys that are familiar with following everything that's going on with MMA, not sports, you know, the ones that listen to Joe Rogan, right? They're a slight level above the level 1 guy, but they're still merely a level 2 normie, right? And that's the thing about normieism, right? Is you've merely escaped the matrix into the next level. Like there's no getting out, man. We are here in this reality doing what we're doing, and everybody that thinks that like all the podcast guys that like think they've escaped or like think that they've realized the truth of the world, like, look, you've just reached level 2. And spoiler alert, there are infinite levels. There's no getting out until you die and go meet Jesus up in heaven, if you're even a part of that world. There's no escaping. You know what I really want to do after working in the warehouse and driving an electric pallet jack? If I ever get fortunate enough one day to have the money to do this, I want to buy a whole bunch of electric pallet jacks. And look, OSHA, just turn your head away. Just don't pay attention to what we're doing. I'll make videos about this too, so trust me, if it ever happens, it'll be worth it to stick around and follow, like, and subscribe, I guess. Influencer bit. But what I really want to do, I want to have pallet jack wars where, and this is totally unsafe. People could die. doing this. Don't get me wrong. People almost definitely are going to die doing this, but I want to do it anyway. Okay. Which is, I want to get 2 pallet jacks, 2 electric pallet jacks. And I'm not talking about the ones that are like single pallet. I'm talking about the ones that you could slide under 2 pallets and get 2 pallets, which means they have extra long, like double forks that you could jam into stuff, right? And I want to get a couple of those. I want to get some brave pallet jack warriors that may accept that they will either be permanently injured or, they'll fall in gladiatorial pallet jack combat. I don't make the rules. That's just how it is, And what we'll do, right, is we'll take these 2 double pallet jacks. That was a hard thing to say, but we'll get there, trust me. And ram these 2 pallet jacks just like right into each other. And it'll be like jousting, right? You know how back in the medieval times, right, they would have the finest white knight with his horse and his lance. And you know what? A pallet jack is a lance. Or we could go a step further. We could go a step further and pallet jacks and a lance. That way there are multiple opportunities to be killed in gladiatorial combat. If you're a Viking, that would be an honorable death. Okay. No, but seriously, I do want to make pallet jack wars happen at some point. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. I'm not saying that it'll ever happen, but if, like, trust me, if I ever like, I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, if I win the lottery, I would do this. But if I happen to come into a windfall of cash, then I'm telling you right now, that'll be like, it won't be the first thing that I do. It'll probably be like 2 or 3. We got to take care of the priorities on the list first, right? But probably like number 2 or 3 on the list would be pallet jack wars. I think it needs to happen. Pallet jack wars. I sit there and I go through the warehouse like riding the pallet jack, getting shit out of the warehouse, and I fantasize about, what if I could just ram another pallet jack right now, just slam right into it. It's the call of the void, right? It's the call of the void. What if I did the most dangerous thing possible that could potentially kill me, but would also be incredibly fun and would be a good way to go out. So also, I guess another thing to keep in mind is that we will be recruiting gladiators for pallet jack wars. So keep that in mind. Keep it in mind once the time comes around. If you think you have what it takes to be a pallet jack gladiator, to fight in pallet jack combat, then let me know. Hit me up. Leave a comment, I guess. I don't know. Send me a DM on Twitter at Lighthouse_SJ. I don't even know if I have my DMs open to the public, but I'm pretty sure I do. If so, then I would really like to recruit you for pallet jack combat. Again, OSHA's not watching, okay? OSHA's not watching that. We're not a business. I don't even know if that means anything, but look, they can't get us. I'll find a way to where OSHA can't get us. And if OSHA can't get us, then that means you are free to Sudoku in pallet jack combat. Anyway, I guess to keep it on a more positive note, right? I mentioned earlier that it hasn't really been the greatest time in life lately. Like, look, things just happen. You fall into the pattern occasionally of like just, getting up and going to work and coming home and having the existential crisis of like, what is this all for? What am I doing? Am I even accomplishing anything doing this shit? And as we kind of further our goal of self-actualization, which is to not hate the thing that you do every day, right? So as we go further along in that, occasionally you need reminders. Like I went to church for the first time in a few weeks, like multiple weeks on Sunday. And it was a very healthy reminder, right? To continuously be grateful, even if you think that you're not doing the greatest at the moment, to continuously be grateful, even in the times that you think is hard. Because don't get me wrong, there's absolutely always something to be grateful for in life, no matter how terrible you think things are. I'm telling you right now, there's always something to be grateful for. And occasionally, you will get a stark reminder in the world to be grateful for the head that is on your shoulders, to be grateful that, you were able to wake up another day in life, to prove yourself once again. Like every day I go to bed thinking, you know what, I'm grateful if I wake up tomorrow for another chance to turn things around, for another chance to, prove that I've got it, right? And especially as I kind of go through a little bit longer and longer, losing the belief that I've got it, the capability to succeed and the skill sets to do that. But occasionally you get a reminder out there in the world that, maybe it's not so doomed, that maybe you are doing okay in comparison to one of these people, right? So I was at Walmart the other day, right? And I get it. There are a lot of stories about the people from Walmart. That's just how it goes. It's an entire subreddit, or like it's an entire website. I think it's a website, right? It's probably not even a website anymore because nothing's on the web and everything's just social media accounts. Zoomers don't know how to use computers, by the way, because Zoomers were not raised on actually like coding and doing stuff in the computer. Zoomers were raised on apps, right? Where you just tap. You just tap all the things and then everything magically works. But I thought that was interesting because I would have thought, like, we thought when we were learning computers, our generation and the generation before us, the Gen Xers thought, oh, they're just going to get better and better and better at computers. But no, that's not how it worked. Anyway, so I was at Walmart the other day, right? And like people of Walmart, occasionally you will encounter one of them in person. You will learn that the people of Walmart subreddit website, still undecided on what that is, but it's something, and I've seen it. But you'll see one of them out there in the wild, right? And this is that reminder that you got to be grateful sometimes. You got to be grateful even at the most base level of thinking, you know what, at least I am not this person. At least I am not this person. If you're going to find one thing to be grateful for in life or every day, you should probably find a few things to be grateful for every day. But, this was my gratefulness for that day, was at least I am not this person. And I did my shopping, got like $100 worth of shit, and scanned them all, went to the self-checkout machine, scanned them all, and I realized that, or I did not realize that it was a card only. You know how some of them are like, oh, we're not taking cash right now, we are taking card only. And I had cash at that time, even though, like, don't ask me why I have cash. I just did, okay? But I had cash, right? And I'd get all the way to the end of checking everything out and doing all the shit before I'm like, oh, I don't have a card. I have cash. And so, I asked the person, like, hey, is there any way that I could, like, take this entire, like, order or this entire, like, receipt that I would have and go to one of the ones that take cash and just slam my $100 bill in there and call it a day? But what they had to do was they had to, like, take my list of shit that I had scanned, and they printed out, like, this receipt sort of with a barcode, but I had to go to the customer service line in order to pay for it, right? And in the customer service line, I saw this old, obese lady in a wheelchair and what looked like her daughter, I guess, who was also old. Keep in mind, this was like probably an 80-year-old woman and a 50 to 60-year-old woman. And also, another thing to keep in mind is that, I live in Tennessee, so we're dealing with like country white trash poverty, right? I'm just going to come out and say it, not as any sort of judgment, because I've met some of course, I've met plenty of country people that are like true blue Southerners that are good people, but these people would not apply to that. I'm talking about like, there's a difference between being Southern and being white trash, right? You know, I would like to think that it would be fairly obvious, but you know, some people are kind of dense and they don't really get it. Look, if you think I'm talking about you, I'm talking about you. Whoever I'm talking about, whoever I'm describing, if it hits the nerve, then you might need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Throw that in a rap lyric and perform it behind a beat at a slam poetry coffee shop. Full circle, baby. Full circle. I'm a professional. Anyway, so this 80-year-old lady and the 50-year-old lady were... I just removed the ability to use this as a YouTube clip because I referenced an earlier part of the show. Anyway, so they were arguing with the person at, I think it was even the manager, right? They had to bring the manager out to argue with these people because what these old, like, poverty ladies were trying to do is they were trying to get a full refund on this, oh geez, what was it? It was some kind of food. Oh, it was this tub of ice cream, right? And the reason that they were trying to get a refund on this tub of ice cream, I don't quite know why, but what the manager was trying to explain to these people was like, look, no, this was perfectly functional ice cream. It looks like you opened it, you even took a bite of it for some reason, but there was nothing defective about the tub of ice cream, right? And the manager at Walmart, by the way, I thought that Walmart would take anything back. I was under the impression that Walmart just didn't give a and they were trying to shut up people like that and just say, all right, whatever, we'll give it to you. Good on them for changing, though. You know, you can't just give everybody what they want, because then you'll get obese poverty wheelchair lady trying to do shit like this. And meanwhile, the wheelchair poverty lady was like, but I saw on a TikTok that you could get this back, that you would just take it back. You would give me my money back. You would take it back no matter what. I saw it on a TikTok. I saw it. And she was very adamant that because she saw a TikTok video of probably a different Walmart that had maybe a different set of policies do it, that surely this Walmart in the middle of Tennessee would do it, right? Look, the same rules. It's Walmart. But no. And the interaction was just so hilarious to me because, like, I locked eyes with the manager and I smiled at her, and she looked at me and she like did the shake, like did the not really the head shake. It was kind of like the head shake. It was like if you're watching the video, then you know you'll know what I'm talking about. But if you're listening to the podcast and you're listening to audio only, just know that when the manager and I locked eyes while I was sitting there in line, she was shaking her head like, can you believe these people? And I start like almost chuckling to myself, and it's a healthy reminder, right? It's a good little healthy reminder to just be grateful for the situation in life, because at least you are not these people that are trying to argue with a Walmart manager and trying to exchange a gallon of ice cream that has a bite in it for a full refund. I get the Walmart's logic. You know, it was a full pint of ice or full gallon of ice cream. It was a functional gallon of ice cream. There was nothing wrong with it, besides the fact that the people took a bite in it, which they're not taking that back. But you got to be grateful. You know, you got to be grateful that you are at least not in the position to have to do this, or in the position intellectually to think that because you saw something on a TikTok that is how it is reflected in reality and in the world. You just need a reminder. You need a reminder occasionally. Anyway, is there anything else that I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah, I was going to do another segment, but you know, I think as our as our reintroduction to the show. We'll do that next time. I'll record another one in a couple of days because I would like to think that, the bear question will still be on the minds and hearts of the people in a couple of days. We're not going to do a show live, but I will probably record a show on Friday. I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, man. And that's in a couple of days, by the way, for historical accuracy purposes. Fingers crossed that bear question will still be viral in a couple days and it won't be old news. Even if it is, I'll still talk about it anyway. But that'll be the extra segment for the next show. We're not going to do an extra segment this time. Normally we would do something fun like, play a game or do a couple of the other really, really old segments that I used to do that I'm going to bring back, the best ones, and reincorporate them into Lighthouse Shock Jock. But we'll do the Eye on Social Media segment next time. Right. Kind of wanted to keep this one short just to get something out there and to explain what was going on lately. So, anyway, we're going to take a break. It won't be a break for you. It'll be a break for me. But for you, it's just, bam. It's going to be the next thing. It'll be just instant. But, of course, when we come back, as part of my pact with the great and mighty God, we will do Lighthouse Shock Jock Bible Study because every episode, got to do it. And I'll go through some of the stuff that, once again, kind of brought me back to him because it seems like your relationship with him at times can be sort of like up and down and up and down and up and down. And the things that I like sharing more so than, the things that speak to me when I'm down are the things that like help me get on the path up towards that better relationship with him, right? And to reconnect with him once again, because there eventually comes a point where, you'll chat with him occasionally throughout the day. Like, oh, there was a scene last night, like on my way out of work where it was kind of raining and there was a, I don't even know how to describe this, but it was a very specific view where like a lamppost was shining down on where I was walking over. And you know how like sometimes when you're looking up at a light post and you see rain falling and you see like all the little droplets and you can see that was just beautiful. It's a beautiful little view. And you take little opportunities like that to go, oh, damn, you are doing a bang up job up there. That is just fantastic to look at. Good stuff. But, while that's great to do and all, eventually you will have to make your way back into scripture in order to really find his direct word and find his direct answer to you about stuff. So we'll go over that next in Lighthouse Shock Jock Bible Study. Stay tuned. All right, we're back. And we will do Lighthouse Shock Jock Bible Study in the next segment, but I've got a song that's stuck in my head right now. I did just talk about, and by just talk about, I mean recorded a couple of days ago. This is a couple of days later. Random behind the scenes that I don't know if anybody cares about, but just so you know, by the way. But since working at the warehouse, right, and I'm just going to keep it at that, at the warehouse, keep it vague so nobody knows. But I've had this song stuck in my head, right, and there's no way I'm going to Shazam it because, look, I'm trying to make numbers here. I'm not going to stop in the middle of doing to go Shazam a random song. But one of the things that I've noticed here, and I know that, a key theme of the show is differences between Florida and Tennessee, right? That was on the last one. Got another one for you. Terrestrial radio is still like huge. It's a pretty big deal up here in Tennessee still. Like, a lot of people listen to the radio. A lot of people are a part of that world, I suppose, which is a little bit unlike Florida, where it, like everywhere, like most other places, it's just starting to become a dying, very, very dying medium, right? But that's not the point. The point is that I have this song. I was about to say GD again. Nope, can't do that. That's off limits. I have this song stuck in my head. Look, I can say all I want, but can't say GD. Good, wholesome Christian, supposedly. But I have this song stuck in my head that plays like 3 to 4 times a night. And it reminds me, if you're one of those people that works somewhere that has music playing over the speaker system, usually it's like some generic like top 40 bullshit. And unless you're just really, really into top 40, which unfortunately a lot of people are, which is why it's top 40, ironically enough, but it drives you insane, right? Having to listen to the same songs over and over and over again all day long. And it happened to me. Except this time, for me, it's country songs. Now, fortunately, the warehouse is massive, so I only hear like maybe 25% of the time when I'm in the area that I can hear the radio. But there's this one song that I swear plays like 4 to 5 times a day per shift that I hear. And it's kind of stuck in my head. And I don't know like any of the parts before or after it, but the chorus is just this big old like country song that's being sung by some Dan Rather boomer with the Sean Connery type voice, like the I don't even know if I can do it. There, sheesh. Yeah. Oh, you got to put your tongue like right on the bridge of your mouth when you're talking. That's how you do it. It goes something like sheesh. Remember, it's basically this. God, I don't even know how to do it, but it's this really old boomer singing about how like remember she's somebody's daughter, she's somebody's. I don't know. She's somebody's. Somebody's. I'm not even doing the bit anymore, but. Every time I hear that, it sends my brain spiraling off into this world of imagination. Because look, this is really old style country music, and it kind of reminds me of like the very. Don't get me wrong, the South is pretty good most of the time, but there's a seedy underbelly to it that like this old Sean Connery type boomer is like singing this song to remind him that's like, oh, wait a minute, now she's somebody's daughter. It's like he was about to like force himself on this girl, but he has to remind himself to like remember that she's somebody's daughter. It's like, all right, well, I was gonna do some really bad stuff, but I remembered, oh, that's right. She's somebody's daughter. All right, I guess we're not going to be doing any raping today, I don't know why that song is stuck in my head. I really don't. Another thing, by the way, is I thought I was doing really poorly over there. Like, and there's this archetype of people, maybe phenotype is the right word here. I don't know, you can correct me if I'm languaging improperly, but... and I might be, but there's this phenotype of like Southern guy that I just want you to know, if you're one of these types of people, that everybody hates you, and I'm going to describe exactly what type of Southern personality this is. And this is like, here's the thing though, these people that act this way, they have a certain look, but not everybody that has the look is one of these people, right? And it's important that, look, I get it. I'm going to take away some of the rage bait because there are going to be some people that look like this, that hear this and go, but I'm not one of those people. She's somebody's daughter. She's somebody's daughter, All right, I guess we're not doing any raping today. I suppose. Oh, boy. Oh boy. But this group of people, right? And here's what they all look like. And it's people that like wear a hat. They're stoic. They got really thick beards, wear sunglasses all the time. Like they're trying to keep their stoic like face hidden. They're trying to keep everything about them a secret. Like they're trying to just show how stoic they are. Like I'm so deep and I'm so brooding. And yet these types of people, right? These people, I've noticed, they have this scowl all the time. Like they have this judging scowl. They always seem like they're giving you a dirty look, right? And these types of people, I've noticed, are just the worst. They're just the worst, man. They're just the worst. And I always thought that I was doing poorly over there, but it turns out that, you know, I was not doing as poorly as I thought. It turns out that like my pain tolerance for bullshit is a lot higher than I thought, because since I started like a couple months ago, they've tried to hire a whole bunch of different new people, and all of these new people all looked like this. They all looked like that exact phenotype that I was describing. You know, they wear the hat, they got their beard, they got their sunglasses on indoors for some reason. They kind of give like glaring dirty looks, and yet here's the thing about them. They're all pussies. They're all pussies because they all quit after one day. They did one day of, you know, having to lift stuff up and like doing manual work and like actually kind of working hard. They did one day of that. Some of them didn't even make it through the day before they decided that, you know, this isn't for me, man. This isn't for me. I gotta get out of here, man. I gotta go. This is just too hard. This is too hard work for me. And ironically enough, do you know, here's what would surprise you guys, right? You know the hardest working people over there? They're like the little twink boys. The little twink boys are the ones that are like running around like in between where is, like, even though that's against the rules, but you know, they gotta hustle. They gotta go fast, man. And you're not gonna catch me running around to get a box of food. You're not gonna catch me doing that. I'm definitely not the fastest person. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, I know how to work hard, at least. But the fastest working people are like those little twink boys that are like running around and like they got some major hustle to them. And yet, you know, the stoic baseball cap just glare all the time like they're so serious and brooding and, you know, don't mess with me. I'm from the South. She's somebody's daughter. She's somebody's daughter, remember? Like the people that would unironically tell that to somebody as like to remind them, you know. Just think about that for a minute. But those are the people that are the biggest pussies of them all, because those are the people that quit day one. Those are the people that had to do any ounce of hard work and just dipped, just pieced it right the out, you know. They just dipped on day one. So, you know, maybe it is appropriate to judge a book by its cover, you know, and, you know, maybe that's just, and again, I should note, right, even though this is going to take away the very engagement baity part of the show, right, the part where I just, you know, do a giant rage bit and enrage everybody that looks like this. But here's the thing, you know, not everybody that looks like that is one of these types of people, but these types of people all tend to look like that, if that makes any sense, right? Like there are a couple guys that are pretty hard workers that, you know, kind of have that look to them, but they all seem to be like fairly jovial personalities. Like they all seem like they're fairly happy. But every new person that we've hired since I started a couple months ago, all has looked like that, and all went through one day before they pussied out and decided to quit. I really don't know why I went on this tangent. It was mostly due to the she's somebody's daughter. That song stuck in my head. And look, I could Shazam that. I could Shazam it, but I'm not going to. Because A, I don't want to know what that song is. If I know what that song is, I'm going to like play it ironically and laugh at it. And then eventually it's going to turn into one of those things, right, where it starts off as ironic enjoyment of it. It's like this really old country song. It starts off as ironic enjoyment of it. I'm telling you right now. Oh, hold on, I got to fix the static. Hello. Come on, static. What the are you doing? I just recorded a whole segment where this wasn't a problem. And then it turned into a problem again. Hold on. Oh, there we go. I was going to say I could edit this out, but I won't. You guys can also deal with my audio problems in real time as my board starts to go. But yeah, that's what I've noticed. Like, not all these people look like that, but not all the people that look like that are one of these types of like pussy people, but all the pussy people all generally tend to look like that. And, you know, I think there's a pattern here. The audio's back. I don't get it, man. The board is just starting to crap itself. It'll come back at some point randomly. Anyway, so we'll get to Lighthouse Shock Jock Bible Study in just a moment. But first, I am not Kent Brockman, but this is I on social media. Yeah, baby. It is the first time that we are bringing back I on social media. And I say bringing back as though anybody that just started listening to Lighthouse Shock Jock knows what the hell I'm talking about, which they won't. But it's a bit that I used to do a very long time ago that I decided to bring back for Lighthouse Shock Jock. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through some happenings that are going viral on the social meds. Do people still call it that? Or like do 30-year-old women that haven't found a husband yet call it that? Speaking of which, that is what we have on social media in a post on Twitter. I almost said GD again. The audio thing is back again. Hello? Please stop making the static. Anyway, it's due to the wiring. But there's this post that went viral. Oh my God. Please I just want to record one segment. That's all I want. I just want one more segment that I can record. Oh, actually, we have to record the Bible study segment too. But all right, two more segments, please. But speaking of 30-year-old women that haven't found a husband yet, this post went viral on social media, particularly on Twitter, because that is the social media that I follow the most. And this one went viral with 11.6 million views, which is pretty big for something on Twitter. And of course, the person that posted it was like, you know, those bro podcasters that like make all of the bro content where like the 45-year-old guys that don't have wives yet, that just go around like spending their whole lives just young women. They make fun of promiscuous women on the internet as though that's not what they've spent their entire lives like chasing after for some reason. And so, by the way, all these types of podcasts, as the static comes back, first it's the cats and then it's the static. Anyway, so these type of people like make a living grifting on the man versus woman culture war, right? And that seems to be one of the big trends of things that happen on, oh my God. All right, I'm going to try. Oh, sorry about that. All right, that I'm definitely editing out. But yeah, so one of the big trends on social media, right, tends to be the man versus woman, like, ongoing battle between the sexes, right? Where, women will go online and their posts will go viral saying, "Where are all the good men at?" Right? And then posts from men in the manosphere, the red pill bullshit, all go viral that are like, women today are all whores and hypergamous, and there's no good women out there, right? And here's the real fact about it, right? And we'll get to the post that went viral in just a moment. But here's the fact about the world, right? And you'll know this if you ever go outside and try not to spend 95% of your time online, right? And you actually talk to people and you kind of know how real life works, is that this kind of stuff is just made to get you engagement baited. It's made to let your mind, and I'll admit that, at a very younger part of my life, maybe a little bit less than 10 years ago now, I fell into this pattern, right? Where, this would be the type of content that I would consume, and then it would be like Inception, where it would take a seed, plant it into your brain, and then that level of resentment towards the other sex would grow. And your resentment towards the culture battle, the battle of the sexes, right? And it grows in your head, and you start to kind of believe that idea that if you're a guy, that there are no good women out there, and that women are all whores, and women are all they just want to find the richest, tallest, most successful, good looking guy and just get with them. And then on the other end of the spectrum, that guys are all terrible and they have no loyalty, and they're just going to basically do the same shit, right? And here's the thing about that, if you ever go out into the real world, you'll find that not everybody is the same. You'll find that, hey, dude, I swear to God, maybe I'll just ignore it. It's like a problem. If you ignore it, it goes away, but if you focus on it, it'll be back. I'm sure the static will be back at some point, but next time I'm just going to ignore it. But the thing is about the battle of the sexes, right, is that if you go outside, if you go out into the real world, you'll find that not everybody is the same person. Not every woman is the same. Not every man is the same. You're just kind of mad that you in particular haven't found the right one. And the problem that is making it harder to find the right one, right, is the change in dating dynamics that are happening today. I hate to be one of those people that just says how everything about today's world is just kind of shit, but it kind of is. Most of it is, but the way that a lot of dating seems to happen now is through these online means, right? And when you're in that arena, you tend to get poisoned by a lot of the other stuff and a lot of the other discourse that's going on in the online sphere. And because the online sphere is happening from the very, very extreme ends of the engagement, rage bait type of people. Basically, in order to go viral, in order to get your message heard, you have to be the most rage baity or the most engagement baity possible, right? And what kind of takes are going to rise from that? Turns out it's the ones that are most likely the most incorrect, but also the ones that are going to make you the most mad. And it turns out that if you kind of unplug from that for a little while, you'll find that a lot of the stuff like this, that you're being poisoned from that kind of sphere, from that online sphere, is just false. This idea that there's no good women out there, this idea that, there's no good men out there is just, it's just not true. It's just not true. You just haven't gone out and met enough people, or you're jaded by one or two singular past experiences that, it turns out that, you might have just gotten unlucky in that case. And that brings us to this post that went viral with 11.6 million views and it went viral from one of those 45-year-old grifting podcasters that just makes a podcast about, how to women, right? And yet this person isn't married. This person has not had a long-term relationship or is not in a long-term relationship. They're just grifting to get you mad. And boy, did it make the online world mad. Now, this is a 3-minute video. I really don't know if we're going to get to all of it, mostly because I really don't want to listen to a 29-year-old girl boss from TikTok having a public meltdown about failing to find a man. And the ironic part about this is that no party seems to be correct in this situation. Like, the guy that posted about it was just clearly trying to grift by playing to your desire to see one of the extreme elements of the battle, right? And this woman went viral because, that's just the type of thing that goes viral online, is just whining about shit. Nobody's going to go viral saying, yeah, things are going great. I'm 29. Just found a husband. Doing fantastic. That kind of stuff's not going to go viral because it's not making anybody mad, and it's not getting anybody riled up and ready to type their little opinion in the endless algorithm that, just do I still have it? Yeah. Endless algorithm that consistently exists to poison your brain. And, let's see how much of this 3-minute clip that we can handle. In fact, I'll put it up on the screen here for you guys.
Quick question.
Not going to share the
kidding me?
because he's a grifter.
Like, I am so sick and tired of just everything.
Okay.
Right now.
Why?
Everyone is so quick to say, stop doing this. Stop thinking like this. Stop telling me I'm wrong. I have literally convinced myself
Following
at this
so
point,
far,
based on everything that everyone's telling me, my therapist, my family, my friends,
therapist,
that I'm just doing everything wrong.
Okay, so here's the thing though. You instantly watch this video and you kind of want to jump to the holy shit, this is annoying. But I'm kind of following along here. Like, this is a 29-year-old girl boss. Here's the caption here. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit to not have to promote the I guess he's on the screen anyway. But yeah, he's got podcasts, and of course he's selling a book. Follow for wisdom on money, life, women, cars, and some comedy. A 45-year-old grifter that has not really done anything besides making money, engagement baiting people. It's great. Don't you just love the online world? Why are so many 29-year-old boss girls from TikTok having public meltdowns about failing to find a man? And here's the thing. I'm kind of following along with this woman so far. The thing that she says is like, I'm tired of everybody telling me that, I'm doing the wrong thing. But like, the thing about it is that nobody in the online sphere is capable of telling you or explaining to you what the right thing is, because they're all online. They're all online. Look, the people that could tell you what to do, the people that would tell you how to have the right attitude for this, are not online, and you're not going to find the answer online. Now, that's her first problem, but let's see where else she's going with this.
I'm healing wrong. I'm thinking wrong. I'm training wrong. I'm doing relationships wrong. Everything I do is wrong, and I'm so sick of it. Stop comparing. It's not even about comparison. Like, I genuinely just want love in my life so badly.
It's painful.
It's literally not about anyone else. It's just about me and what I want.
That's a problem. That could be a problem. But, I don't think we're veering into like red flag territory yet. I think it's just, she's venting her frustrations about, being frustrated. But where's this all coming from? I get it. There does seem to be an uptick in women of around this age that seem to be continuously single. But here's the thing, they're all online. Like, the people that are happy, I would be willing to bet that there are a similar amount of those people. They're just not online posting about it. most of them aren't, you know.
And being over the fact that I don't have it. I feel like I have done so much work on myself. I have built a beautiful life for myself. I'm happy with my life where I'm at, my job. I'm successful. I'm independent. I'm healthier than I've ever been.
And yet,
I take such good care of myself. Truly, the only thing I'm missing in my life is someone to enjoy it with. And I'm so sick of waiting. Like, when is it going to be my turn? What more do I have to do to fix myself before I'm just allowed to be happy? Before I'm allowed to meet this universe soulmate person that God supposedly has for me?
What kind of fixing are you doing?
How much harder do I have to pray and manifest and wait? I feel like I'm being punished for something I didn't do. And I'm just so tired. I'm so tired.
Everybody was so quick to jump on this woman, by the way, in the online the red pill sphere, that I don't know, man. I kind of see her point. Like, on the other hand, you know, of course it's easy to say stuff like, you know, all right, so what kind of work have you been doing? Like, she does seem a little bit, you know, like boss bitchy, which, you know, I'll give you a hint, that doesn't really go over very well with the prospective guy that you're trying to find. But all right, I could see it. You know, you could work past that, especially given that, you know, she seems to have an attitude for wanting to at least kind of work on herself, fix herself, right? I have a little bit more compassion for this woman than I thought I would going into the video. And, you know, maybe some of it comes from the fact that, you know, I'm more willing to, and I'll admit my personal bias here. I will admit that, you know, I kind of slightly wanted to be on her side from the start because I hated the grifty podcaster that posted this. He's the other end of the spectrum of just terrible people. But, and don't get me wrong, there are some stuff in there that kind of, in her little tirade, that does indicate like, all right, I can kind of see it. But at the same time, you know, when you're at that level of frustration, like, of course that stuff's going to come out. I don't know. What do you think about this? Does she have a point? Why did this go so viral? Is this really what people want to see? Is this the online world that we're living in? I don't know. That went viral this past week. And of course, everybody's got their take on it, and everybody was so damn quick to jump on her and immediately judge her for things that she didn't necessarily say. It's just, here's the thing about what tends to happen when you instantly try and assume what somebody else is thinking, right? Because, you know, you can't do that. What tends to happen is you tend to project your, oh no, what did I just do? Okay, there we go. You tend to project your own insecurities onto whatever it is that you're watching or onto whatever it is that you're observing, right? And of course, that's how social media works, right? That's going to be what tends to happen here is of course there's going to be some projection here. So take a minute, think about this. Is this really an epidemic out there? Are there really a lot of, you know, late 20s, mid 30s women that are out there that just cannot find a man no matter how much they work on themselves or no matter how much they try? Is that actually an epidemic that's out there? Because I don't know, man. I don't really see it out there in the real world. And maybe I could be wrong. And I'm just, you know, either not in the right area or not seeing the right part of reality. I don't know. But what do you think about this? Does she have a point? Does the random 45-year-old manosphere podcasting grifter that does a podcast about how to get laid as a 45-year-old man, which is absolutely pathetic, by the way, but are you on his side that, you know, of course he just made the observation that there seems to be a lot of 29-year-old boss women on TikTok that are melting down about not being able to find a man. Of course he meant something about that. Of course that's definitely meant to be an anti-woman message, right? Implying there. That's not projecting. That's, look, that's just what the podcasting, the Manosphere podcasting grift is all about. So, I don't know. What do you think about this? Let me know what you think. I guess influencer hat. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Boring. But do that anyway. All right, and that was
infotainment
on social media. Anyway, we're going to take another break. And when we come back, for realsies this time, Lighthouse Shock Jock Bible Study. All right, we are back for the latest edition of Lighthouse Shock Jock Bible Study. And, of course, I do want to remind everybody, as I do at the beginning of every Bible study segment, that if you are listening on the Lighthouse Shock Jock Bible Study YouTube channel and would like to listen to the main show, then you can subscribe over on YouTube. It is at Lighthouse Shock Jock, just without the Bible study. It's also linked on the bottom of the channel if you get a chance to click over there, do all your little clickies, and subscribe to the main show. And if you are listening to the main show, conversely, and would like to listen to just the Bible study segments, now keep in mind, I don't cut them out of the regular show. Keep them in the main show as part of my active service to him is to keep them viewable for the general public as well. But if you would like to just listen to the Bible study segments, then you can subscribe to at Lighthouse Shock Jock Bible Study. It is also on the bottom of the main YouTube channel. So you can click over there, do whatever you got to do. Subscribe to one or the other, whichever one, you want to go with. But I'm going to do something that I said that I would try not to do as often today, which is to take inspiration from church. Now, normally, since I started this new job working nights and on Sundays, I have not been to church in a little while. But the thing about the church that I go to is it's close to like where my parents live and to where my stepbrother lives. So I basically drive like an hour and a half to get to church when I do go. And they have 2 services. They have one in the morning and they have one at 11, which, look, I take after my dad that we are not early risers. We are late stayer upperers, whatever that means. And so we all tended to go to the 11 a.m. service before I started work. But every couple weeks, like once a month or so, I'm trying to, and I did this for the first time, not last week, but the week before, going to the early service. And it was great to see everybody. Everybody made an effort to wake up early and come out so that we could all go together. And it was fantastic. But unfortunately, I was in a terrible, terrible mood that day. Why? Because normally I miss being able to hang out with the family, see my niece and nephews, hang out with them on Sunday. That's what I used to do before I started working, right? And I miss doing that. So it felt like life was kind of being rubbed in my face a little bit that day, especially, right? And of course, the church was putting on like this kind of festival thing where they needed help to set up, and it was basically family day, and everybody got to hang out and do a bunch of stuff, and not me. I was about to swear, but I will not be swearing in the Bible study segment. I had to go to work immediately right after that. I had to get my butt in the car and drive hour and a half and then another hour back home, get my stuff, and then right off to work on that Sunday. And here's the thing that really bothers me, by the way, is it seems like, because I'm off on Fridays and Saturdays, but these last few weeks, like, it's been miserable weather on Friday and Saturday. Like, it's been rainy all day, and then I'll wake up on Sunday morning and have to go to work that day, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. And like, I drive past the golf course on the way to work, and I see like people having a great time, like golfing at like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Sunday afternoon. And I will admit that does trigger a great amount of FOMO in me, which is why I generally do not like working on Sundays. But the message that I got from him, or the message that he tends to give me when I feel this way and kind of stew in it a little bit, which tends to happen from time to time, right, is the, look, you knew this period of life was coming. You know, you are being punished for some of the bad choices that you've made in life, but if you stick with it, if you stick at it, if you stick through this grind period, you know, there is not a reward for you, but things are going to get better. You will be like rewarded, quote unquote, for it at the end. And that's why I've kind of stuck with it. You know, it's terrible. I hate it, but you know, he told me, look, that you got to go through this grind period before you come out the other side better for it. But that day, the day that I went to church, the one day that I've gone to church since I've started work, was very, very impactful, because it happened to be, once again, you know, kind of like every time you go to church, it happens to be the exact thing that you need to hear at the time, right? And so we are going to do the entire Book of Jonah today. It's just 4 chapters, but we went through some of it at church, right? And a lot of what it said, and there's a lot of different and more meaningful stuff in it too than what we had initially gone over. The thing that it reminded me of, and the thing that I would like to remind all of you of, is to just be eternally grateful. Like, it is a miracle that we are even here walking this earth, walking on God's playground, that we tend to get wrapped up in the minutia of our realities a lot of the time. And I've talked before on past editions of Lighthouse Jock Bible Study about how, you know, our very reality is so like fickle and feeble that, you know, it almost seems pointless to not be cultivating your relationship with God, right? Because that ends up being the thing that matters the most of all, really. And but at the same time, though, he also wants us to enjoy his playground. He wants us to be able to thrive in the playground that he has provided for us. And a lot of the times that comes through walking on the playground the way that he intends us to. And this metaphor just kind of came into my head, right? But, you know, you wouldn't have fun on the swings in God's playground if, you know, you didn't really know how to swing. Like, you wouldn't really have fun on the slide. Maybe this is a bad example, but, you know, you're not going to have as much fun on the slide if you, like, try and run down it. Or, all right, maybe that's a good example. My original example was going to be if you try to slide down the slide backwards, but yeah, that actually does sound like that's kind of fun. But you're not going to have as much fun, though, if you try to like run down the slide, or if you don't even go on the slide at all, right? You know? And that is where the Book of Jonah comes in. It's very short. It is just 4 chapters, so we are going to go through the whole thing. And Jonah kind of reminds me a little bit of me, right? And this is why I said that, you know, I'm going to try not to do this often, but I am taking a little bit of inspiration from Bible passages that were given to me in life, but maybe this was meant to happen today, right? And the character of Jonah is so impactful to me because it's basically a story about a man like running from his calling, running from God's calling and the consequences that result in that. He's running from the thing that he's got to do, and through both direct communication with God and through, an actual punishment through being eaten by the fish that we will get to in just a moment. He is suffering the consequences of running from his problems, and he's suffering the consequence of not dealing head on with what God's plan is for him. And initially I thought that, look, the show is what God wanted me to do, right? And yet I still am somewhat uncertain, and I'm trying to pay more attention to like what my true calling is and what he really wants me to do. The show is important, don't get me wrong, but there are some times that it also kind of seems like or feels like a distraction, and I'm not entirely sure. Again, that's something that I'm going to have to work out with him. That's something that I'm going to have to ask him about, right, and pray over, of course. But Jonah is the result of what happens, as I said earlier, when you run from your responsibility, when you run from the thing that God is directly telling you to do. Now, a little bit of history behind it, right? It's argued as to whether or not this is like a parable or whether or not this is true history, and there are arguments to both of them, right, as to whether or not like this story is real or it even happened, because, it does involve something a little bit fantastical, which is Jonah getting just munched by a fish and ending up being saved from it by repenting and praying towards God and kind of dedicating himself to what God's mission is, right? But the thing is that not only was this character Jonah mentioned in like other parts of the Bible that were not parables, but also, and we'll get to this once we get to the actual story, this isn't something that's completely impossible for God, right? So it does seem a little bit fantastical, but at the same time, it's a thing that could have actually happened. So that's neither here nor there. That could be up to you to decide ultimately. And it's really just meant to show you how, like, look, you can run, you can hide, but you cannot escape. You cannot escape the plan, and you cannot escape what he wants you to do. And this speaks to me a lot. Like, it's very heavily impactful for me because I've done a lot of that in my life. I've done a lot of running from what I know is right, running from what I know I've got to do, and running from ultimately, like, even what I feel is God's plan for me, right? Even now, to this day, I will still do it, and I still get appropriately punished for it. Like, that Sunday, I was punished for straying from his plan, right? For not doing the thing that he wants me to do. I had not recorded a show in a very long time. I had been kind of disconnected from him before going to church, and yet, what do I got to do? I have to give up a day, a very beautiful day of hanging out with the family, having a good time, and I was about to say a swear word again, my bum had to just drive right off to work and put in the grind, and that is my punishment. So we'll start off, we'll kind of get to, wow, this is really short, and I read it earlier, like I read it after church, but it's been like a good couple weeks since reading it, so we'll go through it again. Starting in chapter 1, verse 1, now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah arose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish, so he paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. So here, Jonah's already deciding that, look, I don't know if I want to do this. God's telling him to, look, go to, where was it that he was saying? Go to Nineveh, this great city, God is telling Jonah, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. So he's basically telling Jonah, look, all right, go to the city, go preach that they're in the wrong, they're doing some wrongdoings, and my wrath might come upon them if they do not end up correcting these wrongdoings. We're still in, I believe we're still in Old Testament here, right? So it happens. So verse 4, but the Lord sent out a great wind on the sea. This is when Jonah is boarding the ship to run. Jonah's supposed to go to Tarshish, but instead he is boarding a boat and running from what God is telling him to do. He's running. He's straight up running. But the Lord sent out a great wind on the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship was about to be broken up. Then the mariners were afraid, and every man cried out to his God, and threw the cargo that was in the ship into the sea to lighten the load. But Jonah had gone down into the lowest parts of the ship, had lain down, and was fast asleep. So the captain came to him and said to him, "What do you mean, sleeper? Arise, call on your God. Perhaps your God will consider us, so that we may not perish." Now, this is important to note because all of the mariners, like the crew members on the ship, were not believers in the God. You notice how it's saying, everybody pray to your gods. They were all, I believe they're all like pagan gods that they're all kind of praying to at this point, right? And so Jonah, who of course, I don't know if it's appropriate to say has a relationship with, but, Jonah is conversing with the God, right? And so the captain asks Jonah, look, pray to your God, who is, in Jonah's case, the God, right? So that we can all be saved. So keeping up with verse 7, and they said to one another, "Come, let us cast lots so that we may know for whose cause this trouble has come upon us." So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Then they said to him, "Please tell us, for whose cause is this trouble upon us? What is your occupation, and where do you come from? What is your country, and of what people are you?" So they're basically going around trying to see, all right, so who is a God trying to punish, right? And so ultimately they find out that it's Jonah. Jonah's the one that's running from God, right? And so this is where they're all starting to question him, "What are you doing? What are you doing, man? Why are you running from God?" And of course, all the other members of the ship are like, "Look, I prayed to pagan cow god, and I came up okay. I prayed to pagan horse god. That one came up okay. But meanwhile, Jonah is running from the God, and he's not doing as okay, right? He's not quite doing as okay. It turns out that, the reason that the sea is very windy and the reason that the boat's about to capsize is, it's Jonah. Jonah's running from God. He's not running from fake pagan cow god that all the rest of the crew members believe in at this point. We'll get to some interesting part in a minute if you haven't gone through the Book of Jonah, but interesting foreshadowing. So picking up on verse 9. So Jonah said to them, "I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, "Why have you done this?" For the men knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Then they said to him, "What shall we do to you, that the sea may be calm for us?" For the sea was growing more tempestuous. And he said to them, "Pick me up and throw me into the sea. Then the sea will become calm for you, for I know that this great tempest is because of me." Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to return to land, but they could not, for the sea continued to grow more tempestuous against them. Therefore they cried out to the Lord and said, "We pray, O Lord, please do not let us perish for this man's life, and do not charge us with innocent blood. For you, O Lord, have done as it pleased you. So they picked up Jonah and threw him into the sea, and the sea ceased from its raging. Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly and offered a sacrifice to the Lord and took vows. So you can see here, right, that first of all, the crewmen on the ship, as soon you see what happens, right? They all instantly become believers, because as soon as they like toss Jonah off the ship, then the storm stops, and that causes all these men to be like, wow, so the Lord is real. It is the God. And so that's when they all immediately start taking their vows, right? And they all instantly become believers after that. And it's a very explicit way of putting it, but how many times do you go through life and like the exact thing that you're asking for, or the exact thing that you're like even thinking about, or that you're kind of conscious about, suddenly becomes manifest in reality? And it's very explicit here in the text in the Bible, but to kind of take a little bit more less of an extreme example, this happens a lot of times in our real lives, right? Where we'll have something like kind of manifest from our headspace into reality because it's something that we're asking God about, right? And that it's one of the things that like kind of proves it, really. And sure, it was definitely a worse like circumstance in this story, and I'm kind of applying it to a more positive application, right? But you can see it happen in the real world too. And it's surprising that a lot of people like don't necessarily choose to believe in God or even a God. Like there are some atheists that like find that, kind of manifesting their brain into reality doesn't cause them to believe in anything, right? I know we're going from like 0 to 10 here, or 0 to 100, but it's just interesting to kind of see that reflected in the real world here. Now, the Lord, so going back, the crew members just yeeted Jonah right off the ship, and then the storm stopped. Okay. And another thing that I thought was interesting too, by the way, was the fact that like Jonah would almost rather die. Like Jonah said, look, just toss me off the ship, just kill me. And this point, Jonah would almost rather die, or he not almost, but directly would rather die than like continue to follow and fulfill God's plan for him, which again speaks to me personally. Like this is why this story so heavily impacted me, right? Is there are times in life where, you know what you got to do, and yet you would almost like rather die than break that barrier between you and, be it like your fears or whatever is stopping you from doing what you know the right thing is, or doing what you know the plan entails for you, right? It happens, and I totally get it. Like, Jonah is supposed to be a representative of all of us, really, that, this is what happens when you stray from the plan. This is what happens when, you question what your calling is, really. So verse 17, now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the fish's belly, and he said, I cried out to the Lord because of my affliction, and he answered me. Out of the belly of Sheol I cried, and you heard my voice. For you cast me into the deep, into the heart of the seas, and the flood surrounded me. All your billows and your waves passed over me. Then I said, I have been cast out of your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The water surrounded me even to my soul. The deep closed around me. Weeds were wrapped around my head. I went down to the moorings of the mountain. The earth with its bars closed behind me forever. Yet you have brought up my life from the pit, O Lord, my God. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer went up to you into your holy temple. For those who regard worthless idols forsake their own mercy, but I will sacrifice to you with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay what I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. So the Lord spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. By the way, I'm reading an annotated version of the Bible, and that out of the belly of Sheol I cried. Sheol is the realm of the dead, and like metaphorically, the fish's stomach is kind of like a tomb. So you could almost kind of see Jonah in like this almost purgatory state, really being in the fish's belly. It's like it reminds me of when, you know how so many times like somebody that's about to commit suicide, like the people that jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, right? You know, the people that survive that, you know what? I don't know the exact statistic, but I think it's greater than 90% of the people that end up surviving jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge talk about how on the fall down after they jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, it's something like 90+% of them, again, I don't know the exact statistic, have regrets about, you know, not continuing to live and to not see what their full potential is and to not realize their full potential. And that is really what this story means to me. It's about, you know, the consequences of wasting away your potential, which really feels like it's been the story of a vast majority of my life, which is why this story spoke so hard to me. Now, in church, we used it as a way to, like, be grateful for every single circumstance and used it as an opportunity to, like, pretty much be grateful for every opportunity. And I took that out of it too. Like, don't get me wrong. Another thing that I learned was to even be grateful for yet another opportunity to present yourself. Be grateful for anything and everything that, even if you don't necessarily see it as positive, has a positive effect. Like, just having a grateful mindset just completely changes the entire dynamic of your life, right? And this is what Jonah was even grateful for in that moment, that the Lord could hear his voice, that the Lord is giving him another chance. And yet, as we continue in chapter 3, now the word of the Lord came to Jonah the second time, saying, "Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and preach to it the message that I tell you." So Jonah arose and went to Nineveh according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceedingly great city, a 3-day journey in extent, and Jonah began to enter the city on the first day's walk. Then he cried out and said, "Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown." So the people of Nineveh believed God, proclaimed a fast, and put on a sackcloth from the greatest to the least of them. Then word came to the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne and laid aside his robe, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat in ashes. And he caused it to be proclaimed and published throughout Nineveh by the decree of the king and his nobles, saying, "Let neither man nor beast, herd nor flock taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink water, but let man and beast be covered with sackcloth and cry mightily to God. Yes, let everyone turn from his evil way and from the violence that is in his hands. Who can tell if God will turn and relent and turn away from his fierce anger, so that we may not perish?" Then God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way, and God relented from the disaster that he said he would bring upon them, and he did not do it. One of the things that I thought was interesting here, by the way, was how the king of Nineveh, you notice that there was no guarantee in his statement. He said, like, look, we don't know if God is going to relent on us, but he's right, you know, we still got to do this anyway. And they continued to dedicate themselves to God, right? And so God ended up showing mercy on them, but there was no guarantee of mercy, right? Just like how there's no guarantee of it on any of us. And yet God will continue to show it anyway. He will show it anyway. It's another very common theme of the Bible is that, you know, none of us are deserving of his mercy, and yet we are going to get it anyway, right? So there's more here. Chapter 4. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he became angry. So he prayed to the Lord and said, Ah, Lord, was this not what I said when I was still in my country? Therefore I fled previously to Tarshish, for I know that you are a gracious and merciful God, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, one who relents from doing harm. Therefore now, O Lord, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. Then the Lord said, Is it right for you to be angry? So Jonah went out of the city and sat on the east side of the city. There he made himself a shelter and sat under it in the shade till he might see what would become of the city. And Lord God prepared a plant and made it come up over Jonah, that it might shade for his head to deliver him from his misery. So Jonah was very grateful for the plant. But as morning dawned the next day, God prepared a worm, and it so damaged the plant that it withered. And it happened, when the sun arose, that God prepared a vehement east wind, and the sun beat on Jonah's head, so that he grew faint. Then he wished death for himself, and said, It is better for me to die than to live. Then God said to Jonah, Is it right for you to be angry about the plant? And he said, It is right for me to be angry, even to death. But the Lord said, You have had pity on the plant for which you have not labored, nor made it grow, which came up in a night and perished in a night. And should I not pity Nineveh, that great city, in which are more than 120,000 persons who cannot discern between their right hand and their left, and much livestock? And that's it. That's the story. That is the entire book of Jonah. Now, that's where the theme in chapter 4 is where the theme of gratefulness began to come up. And you'll notice how, like, as soon as God grows the plant to give Jonah shade, that's when Jonah is grateful. But, you know, as soon as he's grateful for one moment, that gratefulness tends to pass, right? And then Jonah becomes, like, preoccupied again with his worries, his struggles, his fears, his desire to die rather than see the result of what he actually did and following God's calling, right? You'll notice how like gratefulness and continuing to follow God's calling, it's a continuous process, right? It's not something that like you can immediately satisfy and say, oh, whoops, all right, I just satisfied it, we're done. And that is what Jonah kind of relents about here, right? Is like, okay, he's grateful for the plant that God grew over him, but as soon as that gratefulness wears off and his brain tends to like move on to something else, like all of ours does, that's immediately when God decides, all right, I'm sending the worm. I'm just going to show you. You stop being grateful for one moment. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what happens. And so it's a good reminder for us to like, even in moments that we don't necessarily think are worthy of being grateful for, that we should have it anyway. We should find a positive thing to take out of every situation and be grateful for it. Because if Jonah had done that, who knows what God would have done if Jonah had continued to be grateful. So Jonah was very grateful for the plant, but as morning dawned the next day, God prepared a worm, and it so damaged the plant that it withered. And then it happened when the sun arose that God prepared a vehement east wind, and the sun beat on Jonah's head so that he grew faint. Right? And I know that this is supposed to be a lesson about like Jonah being more concerned about the plant and himself than for what he had just done for the city of, what was it, 120,000 people. But I don't know. I take this as a lesson of continuous gratefulness, right? I think that if Jonah had continued to show gratefulness, not just for God's mercy, but even for the thing that God was putting in front of him, then things might have ended differently. And, you know, the story ends very inconclusively, right? Like, that's why, you know, some argue that it's a parable, really, that it's quick, one and done. Quick little lesson for you, quick little story, but it's got a lot of important stuff to take away. And I like this story, like drilled heavily into the personal identification. I was about to say the F word again. The personal identification module in my brain that thought, oh, wow, I identify with this so hard. And yet the important thing is to take away the lesson from it, you know, and I had a great Sunday that day after I went to work. It was an easy day because I tried to practice being grateful. I am grateful for even the ability to go to work. I am grateful for being taken out of... There we go. I am grateful for escaping the struggle of, not just financial instability, but, incredible loneliness too, since being here really and being so far away from everybody. I was just grateful for the things that I had rather than be disappointed in the things that I didn't, right? And I think it's an important lesson to take away. Like, Jonah could be any one of us, really. He really could be any one of us. And I think that's a good lesson to take away from the Bible study today, which is you can't run. Look, you can't run from God's plan. Find continuous ways to be grateful. It's almost a perfect story. It's probably my favorite piece of the Bible that I've read so far, to be honest. And I would like to think for good reason. So, anyway, that'll just about do it for today. Thank you for listening, subscribing. If you haven't done so, click the button. It's like here, I don't know, wherever it is. See you next time.
Goodbye, everyone. I'll remember you all in therapy.